Imagine getting a call from your city's mayor with a challenge. You have 24 hours to plan the redevelopment of a huge part of your city. There's probably a lot you would want to do. Maybe you'd want to put in more housing or more shopping. Maybe you'd want to create walkable streets or a transportation hub. Maybe a park or even a new stadium. Regardless, the options are nearly limitless, and the possibility of being able to create big changes to our built environment is exciting. But in cities, land is scarce, and huge empty plots of land that have the potential to reshape an entire city aren't usually a thing, except for the rare occasion it actually happens. This is the city of Covington, Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati, Ohio, and the city has an opportunity to reimagine this huge empty site right in the heart of their urban core. But how'd this site get here, and what's going to happen with it? Well, the site wasn't always empty. In fact, it used to be part of the city, full of homes and businesses connected seamlessly to the rest of the street grid. But in the 1960s, when the city was facing economic decline through the loss of jobs and population to the ever-growing suburbs, these 23 acres were completely demolished to build an IRS processing center. This project aimed to build a suburban-style office and amenities in the heart of downtown Covington, in hopes of retaining an economic base in the city. And it did exactly that. The building was only one story and sprawled over what was previously several city blocks. Around the same time, Interstate 75 was built just west of the IRS building, making it easy and convenient for suburban commuters to drive into Covington to work. And for many years, this managed to work for the city. At a time when people were moving out of cities, this allowed them to maintain a massive workforce of over 4,000 people at its peak, making it the largest employer in the city and bringing in significant payroll tax for the city. However, despite the building being in the heart of the city, it wasn't really part of the city. It simply existed there, surrounded by parking lots for people to drive in to work and leave. But as time went on, trends and technology evolved. Much of the building was to process tax paperwork, and as much of this paperwork was switched over to computers, the building became more and more obsolete over the years, until 2016, when the federal government announced they would be closing down the facility 3 years later in 2019. Some people might look at this as a terrible situation for a city to have a massive hole in the core of their downtown that isn't providing jobs, housing people, or creating tax revenue. And that is objectively a pretty terrible situation for a city. But it also presents a massive opportunity that many cities never get, a redo to start from scratch. And that's exactly what the city of Covington saw. So they bought the 23-acre site from the federal government for $20 million in 2020, only months after the federal government shut the facility down. But before they even bought the land, the city had been thinking of what they wanted to do with it. And through market studies, the needs of the city, and public engagement, they came up with a vision for what development here could look like. The biggest thing they wanted to do was reconnect the street grid and integrate it with the surrounding neighborhoods. They also wanted those streets to be friendly for walking and biking, as well as still accessible for cars. They wanted it to be mixed use, allowing it to become a lively neighborhood with a mix of homes, businesses, entertainment, and recreation. And since it's right on the river too, it presents a great opportunity to create outdoor spaces that connect with the river. And finally, they wanted it to create jobs and tax revenue. With all of these in mind, a few different concepts were created, and they found which elements were most popular to integrate into the final design. So by the time the land was purchased, the city had a pretty clear vision for what they wanted to do with it. But of course there was a massive building in the way, so they had to get rid of that first. Ironically, on tax day in 2022, demolition began on the old IRS building, and within a few months it was gone, leaving nothing but a blank slate ready to build on. At this point, you might have your own ideas of what to do next, and this is where it's crucial to think critically. With the sponsor of this video, Brilliant, you can sharpen up your critical thinking skills with fun and interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and AI. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, it's always fun to learn new things and take a deeper dive into topics that interest you and that match your skill level. One of the best things about it is that it breaks up complex topics into easy to understand pieces, and it's done with hands-on activities that are shown to be 6 times more effective than just watching lecture videos. And in the process, not only are you gaining knowledge on topics you find interesting, but you're also building up your problem-solving skills that you can apply to your everyday life. With AI becoming such a huge part of technology, they've recently introduced a course that dives into how some of these systems work and allows you to interact with language models and understand the basics of how they work. This lesson and thousands of others are something you can add into your daily routine today for free for a full 30 days by going to brilliant.org/streetcraft. or click on the link in the description. They're also giving Streetcraft viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, so be sure to check it out and begin learning in a fun, interactive way today. With a blank slate, the first thing that has to be built is the necessary infrastructure, and the design plans to reconnect the street grid like this. The streets are designed for low vehicle speeds to allow for safe walking and cycling through the new neighborhood, All of these new streets will seamlessly connect into the existing neighborhood once it's complete, which was one of the city's main goals with this project. But what's built on these new streets is arguably the most important part, as they will shape the character of this neighborhood. And the city knows this, which is why it's so important to them that it's done right.
In order to weave it back into the fabric of the city, we kind of look to our past to inform our future.
The city is taking a bit of a different approach when it comes to developing a huge site like this. Here's Tom West, the Director of Economic Development in Covington, to explain.
Generally, you will advertise the lands available, you'll find a developer, and you may offer them incentives to come and build something, an office park, a shopping center, a housing development. And they then are responsible for putting in all of the utilities, all of the roads, and basically completing the construction of the development. What we're doing here that's a little bit different is we are not offering incentives, but we are building all of the infrastructure. So we're building the roads, the alleyways, we're putting in all of the underground utilities and bringing them right to the property line. And this offers the developer basically a build-ready site. And ordinarily, with a site this large, you'd go and look for one developer to do it all. That's kind of the easy way out. But in our case, our city is made up of so many different owners and different builders and different architects. And it's going to be familiar to those smaller developers and conducive to the size of projects and the scale of projects that they're used to working on. Folks that may be familiar with traditional or I guess conventional development would look at this and kind of scratch their head, and some of them have. But we believe this is what's right for Covington, and that this is not just for the big, well-capitalized, out-of-town developers.
By dividing this project into smaller pieces, not only will it benefit smaller local developers, but it also has the opportunity to benefit the city.
One of the benefits is not that it makes our job easier. Because instead of trying to put together one development deal, we're literally going to be putting together several dozen of them. What it is an opportunity to kind of recreate the way the city evolved over time. We're not going to be approaching this where we're going to take the shiniest object and the biggest number, bottom line number among the proposals that come in. We're going to look out for what is best long term for the community.
The city has a plan for what they want to see here, and it includes a bit of everything. The development is planned to have a mix of residential use, including detached homes, townhouses, and apartments. And it'll have plenty of retail space for shops, restaurants, and entertainment. There's a big emphasis on green space as well, with parks and public plazas that can be used for events. Along with a hotel and office space, 2 universities in the state are planning to have schools in the new development, and the existing convention center is using some of the available land to expand as well. A large section of the development will sit on top of a parking garage and create a land bridge that seamlessly integrates the development into a riverfront park and trail that runs along the levee. Combining all of these different types of use will make this a vibrant, lively new neighborhood. It'll be a place for people to live and hang out, where they can walk to work or to the park, where they can go to an event or meet their friends for dinner. And it fixes the problem that was created here in the first place: adaptability. The thing is, building something like a massive office building made for processing huge volumes of tax returns is a pretty specific need. It's not like you can just turn this into a coffee shop or a few apartments. I mean, I guess you could, but it definitely would not be ideal. This left the city with no other option than to tear it down and start from scratch. But now that the development will be split up into so many different uses with traditional mixed-use buildings, if a coffee shop goes out of business, it could easily be replaced with a bakery, and it wouldn't require demolishing all 23 acres again. Building in this way makes it much easier for cities to evolve and adapt. This is the same problem many cities are facing with big box retail developments. Nearly every single American city has these huge plots of land that were developed for these big retail stores and now sit empty and abandoned, with massive parking lots that are slowly deteriorating, with maybe the occasional tenant in the fall. Traditional malls face this same problem on an even larger scale. It's proving to be really difficult to find use for buildings like these other than as shopping malls, and oftentimes it's proving to be a better opportunity to just start from scratch. One mall in Michigan is being demolished and the space is being developed into a mixed-use town center, similar to what's being built in Covington, and this is happening at a few other old malls in the US as well. While these types of buildings might be a problem right now, they can end up being exciting new opportunities, because they allow us to rethink how we use the land that already exists, and it shows that our places are adaptable. Some of these places that may have been dead zones can end up becoming vibrant neighborhoods that have the potential to have a domino effect on different aspects of the surrounding neighborhoods. And this is already starting to happen with the streets surrounding the development in Covington. Right now, the development borders a state highway that functions as a one-way pair with 4th Street and 5th Street. 4th Street, which is the one that borders the development, is a 3-lane one-way street with incredibly narrow sidewalks.
In fact, in some places where the utility company has come in and put in new poles, the sidewalk is so narrow that if you're in a wheelchair, you have to go out into the street to get around the pole. And that's just not acceptable.
The state has agreed to reduce the street to 2 lanes, widen the sidewalk, and add a buffered bike lane. Further down the street, at the southwest corner of the site, there's a 3-lane bridge that crosses the river to Cincinnati, with a wide slip lane that encourages drivers to take this turn at high speeds. There's talks of closing the ramp to repurpose it for 2-way bike traffic, as well as modifying the bridge to be 1 lane in each direction for cars with a 2-way cycle track. Not only will this greatly increase accessibility for cyclists, but it'll also slow down cars getting on the bridge, forcing them to do a 90-degree turn at a traffic light to get on the bridge rather than a high-speed ramp. These safer streets and more adaptability is going to change this area dramatically from how it existed over the last 50+ years, bringing it back to its roots of being an urban neighborhood.
We want to make sure it stays authentic to Covington, though. And I don't mean reproducing history. We're not going to do fake historic buildings, but true to its time, true to the scale of Covington and the quirkiness and authenticity. So lots of different ideas, not monochromatic, uniform, over-designed streetscapes, but a place where people express that individuality. But it has an opportunity to set a new example, a 21st century example of that. I've been saying since the beginning, to me, the ultimate metric of success for this neighborhood, and I will never be around to know if it achieves it or not, but would 100 years from now, would someone stand at the corner of 3rd and Russell, which doesn't exist yet, but could they stand at that corner and look around and say, what an amazing historic district? This is so representative of the early 21st century. And to me, that would be the ultimate metric of success.
Building a new neighborhood in an urban setting comes with tons of new opportunities. But what about building new neighborhoods in rural areas? Well, that's a whole different story, and this next video reimagines how it can be done.